A few days ago, a member of my community by the name of Shady Emma approached me with a shocking revelation, that Trickster's power has the laceration delay timer inversely linked to the decay interval timer. They have a video on their channel highlighting this bug, which I'll link below, and explain to you what this means. When a survivor is hit by a knife, they are supposed to have a 12-second delay until that knife stack starts decaying. Hitting that survivor with another knife within 12 seconds adds another stack and resets that timer. If the survivor is not hit with a knife within 12 seconds, then the knife will decay after a 4.4 second timer, effectively meaning that the survivor holds on to the first knife for 16.4 seconds, and then each consecutive one after that falls off after 4.4 seconds individually. At least that's how it's supposed to work. Instead, the decay starts when there's 4.4 seconds left in the 12-second delay timer, meaning that the decay is actually only 7.6 seconds long. You lose more than a third of the delay timer because of how the power works presently. And that's not the worst part. Trickster's gameplay update brought about an interesting concept, a combo meter that gives the Trickster a set of stacking buffs the higher that he gets in tiers. At the coveted S rank, he gets a series of sweeping buffs to his kit, including a 1.5x laceration meter decay delay modifier. That is, when the Trickster hits you with a knife while in S rank, it should take 18 seconds to start decaying instead of the usual 12. As you can already predict though, this isn't the case, as the delay before knives start dissipating goes down to 5.5 seconds, less than a third of what's advertised, but the 4.4 second decay timer, the time that it takes a stack to dissipate, goes up to 6.6 seconds, aka 1.5 times the normal decay timer. I wonder where that number came from. For how much time it can take for this killer to get into S rank, it is pretty disappointing to know that there's an active hidden detriment for achieving the highest rank by making it harder to maintain knives on survivors. If this is intentional as a way of coercing the Trickster player into using main event as soon as possible, then I posit that this design, numerically, does not properly play into its power fantasy. I really do want to like this character. His power was already frustrating for me to use prior to the update though, and seeing this bug largely invalidate the pinnacle of his redesign disincentivizes me from wanting to learn how to play him again. If this bug gets fixed, I'd like to try out the gameplay update more to see if it feels any different. Laceration decay bug notwithstanding, what do I think about the rework as a whole? Well, I made the statement in my PTB video, but the changes were not mechanically significant enough for me to internally classify the update as a rework. When we look back at the rework that was awarded to the Nightmare, Freddy went from being a killer with a barely impactful anti-looping power to a killer that creatively swaps between multiple tools in his kit to become a menace in both the micro and macro departments. Even though some semblance of the old anti-loop power and his old teleport is still held over from those days, the new Freddy is a massively improved character. The term rework clarifies the scope of changes, with the re prefix being indicative of a restart or a renovation. Trickster's rework did not redefine how the killer plays or applies pressure, as the core gameplay loop has remained functionally identical, if not extremely similar, while shoving a lot of the power to the back of the power now. I'd say that the biggest change was making it so that the main event is harder to achieve. Otherwise, the gameplay of tapping a survivor with a few knives when they're in line of sight is the exact same, with the occasional promise that something good might happen eventually. I'm not a fan of how so much of the power of the rework is diluted by the flashiness of the new style meter. So despite being called a rework, the Trickster still plays exactly like the Trickster without the ability to camp hooks or snowball as easily because of how mediocre the payoff is now. But snowballing is outright more difficult now because of the nerfs that undercut the design of his primary ability. When I think of Trickster, I think of a killer that is a sort of jack of all trades, which must have taken a while, but a master of none. He has a projectile that lacks the immediate stopping power of Deathslinger, Huntress, or Springtrap. He has the ability to counter type pallet loops without the consistency of Executioner, Henry, or Spirit. He can snowball off of survivor mistakes even though he is outclassed in said category by Bubba, Oni, and Myers. When the rework came about, I suppose I was expecting that Trickster might have some new flamboyant playstyle that sought to solidify one of these strengths for him. With the new ranking system, it seemed like Behavior wanted to double down on his ability to snowball, but they shoved that capability so far into the back of his kit that he still remains to be the worst one in that gameplay category. Which means that a lot of the power of the rework presently is completely reliant on sweeping survivor mistakes instead of capitalizing on small ones little bits at a time, which makes it feel a lot weaker even as flashy and fun as it can be. So does that make this a bad rework? Well, no. In my limited experience thus far, I think that the idea is cool, but its execution was held back. Now, I can't speak on the exact number of tweaks that I would like to see. For that, I'd defer to Revium's list that they made while this rework was still in the PTB. Realistically, this rework is a few number tweaks away from feeling cohesive and satisfying, or at least just one bug fix, and some changes to make him feel less clunky to play would be greatly welcome. And it doesn't change how his power feels the same in its function, but it would at least make the payoff feel rewarding. If I may be so bold, I think that the term rework was more of a reflection of the effort that went into the design of everything around the gameplay itself. You know, there's incredible art design and there's some new voiceover work. The updated gameplay design just was kind of a secondary part. I don't really mind that, as it gives this chapter a bunch of personality where there wasn't before. Incorporating a musical sting into the Trickster's power is brilliant, as it helps define his identity as a deranged pop star. A style meter that grows in strength depending on actions taken throughout the trial is a great way of equating his playstyle to that of a multifaceted stage performance. He is putting on a show for the entity, all to the tempo of the music that still beats inside his head. For a music-themed update, the music has not disappointed at all. The new menu theme for Yunjin is exactly the kind of glitch hop that I enjoy listening to. The theme for Mina has an entertaining staccato pattern to it, while the main menu theme has an ethereal, dark synth style to it that plays into the general mystique of the entity's realm, while still highlighting that this is very much a musical chapter. We also got an animated music video featuring vocalist and K-pop star Kevin Wu. So all of this was clearly made with so much love for unifying an artistic vision, with the understanding that the return on investment would likely skew negative, irrespective of public reception, because it just wasn't for a licensed or brand new character. I mean, come on, do you really think that everyone did this work out of the kindness of their hearts? No, they expect to make something off of it, even if they know that their original chapter releases as of late have not received the same level of popularity as the licensed ones. I mean, genuinely, when was the last time that you saw a Krazu? I haven't seen one in over 100 games. And despite my dislike for Trickster's playstyle, I can still appreciate the knockout job that the team did with his new visuals and audio cues. His deranged laugh when he lands multiple knives and tears up is an incredible touch, and I'm an especially big fan of the swirling lights that appear when he hits the survivor with a knife. It reminds me of rave lights and ties together the neon, almost synthwave aesthetic that this whole revamp has going for it. And yet, I can't shake the feeling that all of the work that went into this gameplay update is nothing more than jangling keys, distracting me from how the actual gameplay of Trickster still feels relatively lackluster. So maybe I'm a natural-born hater of this killer's gameplay design. There will never be a series of number tweaks that will make him feel satisfying to play as and against, but man, does it feel bad to not be able to appreciate everything that the behavior team did to make him look cool on account of his power feeling terrible to use. I know that I never liked playing Trickster though, so I guess that's my bad for assuming that the title of rework that was also awarded to Myers and Freddy was going to fundamentally change how frustrating the power felt to use. At least we have a cool new map though, right? Well, visually, Trickster's Delusion might be the prettiest map that we have in the game. Ormond Lake Mine is a good looking map that utilizes the team's more current tools to give a complete modern look, but Trickster's Delusion has so many visual details that work in its favor that help reimagine a compact city setting in the entity's realm. I love how every segment of the map feels visually distinct while still retaining the same visual style. And even if it's an empty city, I love how realistic it feels compared to all the other maps in the game presently. Like, yeah, of course, there will be a door that leads to this alleyway that opens into an open seating area where you can enjoy food that you've received from a food truck or food stand. That just makes sense thematically. It makes more sense than whatever nonsense we have going on here. Every building is just oozing with personality, and I love how it all seeks to creatively redefine the way the Dead by Daylight maps can be played without being an indoor map. Yes, there are many indoor segments, but they are chained with outdoor filler segments in such a way that they still allow you to retain information on killers and survivors. It subverts the monotony of the regular palette tiles that we've been playing for a decade by cleverly blending an outdoor location with intermittent indoor ones. Also, thank the stars above that everything is on one floor. Moving between floors on Baton Preschool is one of the most aggravating things about playing on that map alongside other complaints. Not to mention that multiple floors tend to invalidate niche killer powers like the artist. That all being said though, there were numerous issues with this map's design on the PTB, and I'm not talking about the balance. According to King Dong-hyuk on Twitter, the map had several bizarre translation errors that appeared to be founded on a lack of understanding of Korean phrases. In her words, Dong-hyuk points out how most of the Korean words were basically copied from a dictionary instead of using common colloquialisms that Korean signage would typically have. It's like calling it Hamburger King instead of Burger King, while explaining a translation error to an American audience. Wait, so imagine a hamburger. They also phonetically translated the Japanese word for ramen into Korean, the Japanese word for coffee into Korean, and even had posters featuring the Trickster with Japanese kanji written on it. Another mistake is the use of paper lanterns, which has a distinctive style depending on what country they originate from. The ones that are featured on this map are more in the style of Chinese and Japanese lanterns, as Korean lanterns, called Cheongsatsorong, are stylized in this manner. And not only that, but Trickster's new voice lines are supposedly spoken in the same manner as if they were translated using a dictionary. It cannot be understated how racially insensitive it is to conflate cultures in this manner, especially with cultures that have as violent and hateful of a history with each other as South Korea, Japan, and China. Dong-hyuk followed up on her earlier post by saying that most of these translation issues have been fixed, but I wanted a more complete answer. So I asked my friend, an extremely skilled digital artist football head who is Korean himself, to help me proofread things and confirm if they had been fixed or not. There have been like some claims that people had made that the stuff was inaccurate, but then it had been changed, and so I just wanted to double check with my own sources in a way to make sure that it actually has been better. I mean, we could even look in the lobby here. Is there anything on the signs that needs proofreading for that? Like, that's already probably off to a bad start.
Oh man, the soda.
Yeah.
The soda said 신선한 soda. 신선한 means fresh.
Oh, fresh.
Isn't that kinda
That is a little
fresh
weird.
is for the fruit, and like fish. We use a lot of just English too. I think they over translated a lot of the words. That's why it's having so much weird translations here. The word they're going for is 상쾌한. 상쾌한 means refresh. 연쇄살인마 means a serial killer. Serial killer in the ramen place? Why?
Well,
Yellow one says 넌 살인자야 means you are murderer. It is proper grammar, but it's boring. A lot of the word they use doesn't feel very personal. It's like it's just stating the thing, like you're reading the textbook. 무능력자 means you have no ability. Normie, essentially, but it didn't say in the same vein as normie. 무능력자 means, yeah, you're useless.
like talentless kind of thing.
Yeah, talentless. Exactly.
Right.
Can you see that red sign? 내 시간은 끝났어 means your time is over. We just don't say it like that. Your time is over. That's an English type of speaking. 불청객 means you're unwanted visitor.
You're an unwanted visitor. It's like, oh, you're inconveniencing me. Meanwhile, this is like designed after a murderer.
The neon sign on the top says you're too old.
No, it's speaking to me. No.
버림받은 자 means you're abandoned. It's too dramatic. It's like saying the one who abandoned. Tone is just all over the place. Some things are like saying as in you're talking to somebody. Some sign says it like a textbook. Some signs are saying it like in dramatic way. Yeah, it's all over the place. What they should have done, in my opinion, is they should gather a bunch of mean comments people get from the internet and maybe use that.
Because then you'd actually get more common phrases. There were some voice lines that were also added to the game, and some people have also claimed that the voice lines were read in a lot of this sort of dictionary manner, like without the urgency.
Voice lines been okay. It's passable.
Well,
like, again, it's not problematic or it's not wrong, but you can do better.
And you would think that with a company that is this vast, you could have probably hired somebody to help you translate or write out the proper phrases, you know, as a Korean speaker would actually say them, instead of just being like, let's translate this and then hand these off to the voice actor. And then the voice actor's like, well, it sounds weird, but I'm getting paid to do this.
If the director is willing to listen to the voice actors, this kind of problem will be sorted more, you know, naturally. But sometimes that doesn't happen in a lot of cases, especially translations based in Korea right now have a lot of issues where a lot of company doesn't want to spend a lot of money on translation. So a lot of foreign media right now actually have very, very bad translation overall.
Let's say that One Battle After Another gets a release in Korea and they subtitle the movie in Korean. Are the subtitles usually kind of rough and inaccurate in Korean then?
Yes. A lot of just ChatGPT or Google translation level of things are happening in the industry right now.
I think that's all I've got for you on this. Do you want to say that your commissions are open or anything on your side of things for the video?
There are a lot of time. My commission sometimes open. I only occasionally get commissions nowadays from DMs, but if you want any YouTube thumbnails, I could maybe work for you.
You got like the whole portfolio on your website and everything too.
It's a bit old, but it sums up a lot of my works.
Yeah, thank you for letting me bother you and help me do like proofreading for some of the Korean stuff, because I was very curious about all of this.
Yeah. Problem. It was actually pretty fun. I love nitpicking this kind of industry mistake and stuff.
I could do better, folds my arms and look at it.
Oh yeah, this industry people doesn't know what they're talking about. I can do better, definitely.
And finally, yes, let's talk about the map from a balance perspective. Well, it's pretty survivor-sided if the survivor doesn't get lost. Trickster's Delusion is a massive map thanks to all the buildings that it includes with static pallet spawns. This means that once players learn how the map is laid out, it'll become as easy to run as the Raccoon City police station maps. The convenience store spawns 2 pallets that rival the strength of the main building pallet on Gas Heaven, which has 3 exits going out from these 2 pallets, all of which lead into another filler pallet and a god window if you run out this way. The alleyways that encircle the map both have a god pallet setup, alongside some other fairly strong window and filler pallet setups. Some of the filler pallets are pretty weak compared to the others, but it's also important to know that RPD has its share of poor filler pallets, like the one in the office upstairs or the typewriter room. But you compare the quality of the other regular pallets on RPD to the sheer quantity of pallets on the new map, and in my mind, the new map has several more fillers that allow people to artificially extend their chases out even longer. Even if the pallet isn't good, it's still possible to loop it into another filler somewhere nearby. If not a filler, then it loops into a good window or a god pallet at some point. So you combine this with how much clutter there is in between every pallet, and this map then becomes an absolute nightmare for any M1 killer. 110 killers also have a rough time because of how easy it is to be greedy on most of these filler pallets. Take the pallet that spawns next to the food truck here, for example. If I'm playing any 110 killer that isn't Spirit, there aren't very many opportunities for me to use my power to catch the survivor in a timely manner. There are no dips in the geometry for Deathslinger, no reasonable angles to throw an axe for Springtrap or Huntress, and so on and so on. Killers with high mobility like Oni or Hillbilly are detrimented by this map's otherwise claustrophobic design, which means that the only killers that perform best on this map are the stealthy ones, or the obligatory S tiers. I am against the idea that a map can be considered well designed if its greatest benefactor is the Ghostface, arguably the weakest killer in the entire roster, because the Ghostface still suffers when the entire map has been designed in a hostile manner anyway. So if it were up to me, I would remove this window here, this stone wall, and some of the debris on one of the outer god pallets. This map already has plenty of strong windows and pallets, and these are the ones that feel the most overkill to me. Another component of the map that I don't like is the Killer Shack. Shack is sacred in that no matter what map it is, you do not change its shape. The tile is already consistently good and relies on its consistency for the benefit of both players. If the survivor knows how to run Shack, they will waste a good amount of time with the tile. If the killer knows how to run Shack, they will be rewarded for countering the survivor's movement properly. On this map, for whatever reason, the length of the non-window side of Shack has been artificially extended by adding this protrusion, making it easier for survivors to lose chases. So the new map simply doesn't feel great to play on if you're a killer player. This is not due to one or two things, but rather a whole litany of mechanics that work together to alienate most of the roster. And while the Trickster rework was probably never going to be for me, the advertisement of a rework led me to believe that the gameplay mechanics will be massively improved as they were with Myers and Freddy. I wasn't a Myers or Freddy enjoyer prior to their reworks, and now I can say that their playstyles have changed significantly enough for me to actually enjoy playing them now. Oh, but that's my bad for not understanding the killer. I wanted to enjoy this killer so badly and was hopeful that a rework would bring about significant changes that address personal pain points, and it didn't. Instead, the rework made his power more obtuse and clunky, while jangling the biggest set of keys in front of my eyes, while also having one of the most debilitating power bugs to date. I mean, maybe if this bug gets fixed, he'll feel better to play, but honestly, who knows? When the Mr. Headache streamed his first impressions of the Trickster a few days ago, his comments on stream best summarized about how I feel about the killer as well.
God, this character's so fucking mid, dude. So fucking mid. They're so just aggressively okay in every way. They achieve at nothing. They're good at nothing. They're the most okayest killer they've ever put out. They said, you know what I want? I want a character that's just alright. I want a character so mid. Just so acceptable, but not achieving it anywhere. Yeah, the aesthetics, great. But like, damn, this character exceeds at nothing. What is their niche? Like, what do they do better than anybody else? What is their cool thing? I don't think they have one.